All right, let's go to the next one, guys. This is from HousingWire. We have, why is housing inventory growing with higher mortgage rates? Well, part of this is just hand in hand with the theory that as rates go up, inventory does as well.
Correct.
But let's talk about this a little bit, because we are showing year-over-year growth in inventory despite higher rates. And inventory, now, I want to say this at the beginning, is the quoted number here. Inventory bottom of 2022 was 240,000 homes, okay? Inventory peak of 2023, 569,000. That represents a 329,000 difference from peak to trough.
I mean,
that is massive.
When I saw that number, Andy, that was crazy. I actually had to go into the Fred graph and check that out. Like, how was it? How many homes were actually available, like even back in 2017, 18? Like, because not until we started talking about this is I'm paying more attention to it.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate to be conducting a lot of business at that time, but there was more volume of homes, more active homes on the market. And when I saw this number in January, 240,000 homes available nationwide, that was like a jaw drop right there.
That is very, very thin. Very thin.
Yes.
Very thin.
And they put it right here in context. Like, if you put it in 2015, they had 958 homes available nationwide.
Yeah.
958,000.
Yeah. That's a lot.
That's quite a bit.
So,
that's a lot.
Almost 1 million.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're talking about that taking a massive plummet. I mean, look, the 2022 number is only a quarter of the 2015 number.
Yeah.
But the difference between 22 to 23 is staggering. Going from 240,000 all the way up to 569,000, that's one hell of a recovery for inventory.
I think for all the crash talkers out there, I think that might have been the crash.
Yeah.
That was the
not the crash, but the dip.
Well, but again, it's volume of inventory. It wasn't a price crash. Like, the price correction is really more accurately defined what it was. You saw a 10% correction some places, 12, 15%. You didn't see a 45% retreat on price. And you just saw a lot less homes available.
And I think that's what people get confused about, that they're waiting for it to drop 50, 60, like just completely tank. Where these drops are actually still significant in the long term.
But we've talked about that before. Like, I remember I looked at you and I was like, at what point would you step into the market and say, oh, okay, well, if it's 100% price, right, and it's 10% off, it's 20, it's 30. Where do you step in and go, I buy it at 30% off or 20% off? Like, I could hold my breath for 40% off all day long, but if he's sitting there on cash and he's like, well, I'm in at 30%, my option's gone waiting for 40.
It doesn't exist anymore.
That's what I'm saying. So, there's a threshold where even investors are going to be like, oh, it's 10% off? Cool. I'll take it at 15% off.
Yeah, they have to. I mean, at what point they're like, hey, I got to work with the numbers that I'm getting right now, and I got to keep moving forward.
Yeah, this is crazy, guys. No, that number 240, I mean, for me, I didn't feel that pain in 2022. There was that many, because we were so inundated with the refi boom still.
It was still basically
carried over.
I still didn't understand, but now if you look at the numbers, the refi was so much higher than the purchase. It's like, oh, I get it. Now I understand it. Looking back at the numbers, and I actually took going back and reminiscing, right? What was happening in 22? There it is.
Like, hey, where's all these sellers at? Oh, damn, I refinanced them all in 2020, 2021.
But here's the thing: that peak of that peak of 569,000 in 2023, that's carrying over. Yeah. We're already seeing that then move into 2024 because when you look at the week over week stats that they put in this article too, you're looking at the week over or the week versus same week last year comparison, and in 2023, this same week. So this same week in 2023, there were 48,000 homes on the market.
Yeah.
Now this year, there's 52,000. Like, oh, well, it's only 4,000 difference. That's 10%.
Yeah.
That's 10% more.
So
that means if I go ahead and just translate that into the same, let's say, peak number. So if the peak was 569,000 and I plus 10% on that, now we're over inventory over 610,000 right away. So if that week over week comparison or week versus week year over year comparison of 10% plus, it's going to be the same for total inventory peak. We're going to see that cross 600,000 for the first time in years now. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that spells great news for the spring and for summer. And, this conversation is on the tail end of our last one for the Redfin article we started the show with, which is talking about supply of homes increasing.
Still not a market crash, though. So just so we understand it. Still not a market crash.
Okay? It's still going to fall off the cliff. So, in case you have not heard this from us before, the HousingWire growth, not growth, the inventory model that they use here is as mortgage rates head higher, it leads to weakness in demand, which means it takes longer to sell a home and inventory can grow.
Yeah.
That's only part of it. Inventory not only grows by places sitting on the market longer, which we're not experiencing, it's also just volume of homes going to list.
Yeah. Again, at the same time. So I have a realtor I was talking to, and they're getting all anxious because this property ain't selling. And so I look into the property. Do you have any buyers around? I go, well, send me the address. So they send me the address. And then, we have MLS access, so we look into it. It's only been on the market for a little over 40 days.
Oh, that's not that bad.
No, not at all. But
That's
they
not
were
that bad.
stressing. They were like, well, it's been 40 days. We really haven't had any activity like that.
Yeah, but if
We
it's
have
like
people coming in, but there's no offers. And I'm like, but it's only been 40 days. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess for here we're a little spoiled, right? Like in San Diego, you're like, oh, list days on market is in the high teens,
Yeah.
right? And then
7
it goes to
days?
pending, and then it's closed. Yeah,
It's been on the market for 2 weeks.
yeah.
I'm about to lose it. I'm going to get fired.
But 40 I think is locally abnormal. That's not necessarily completely outside the range of normal when you look at like.
But if we consider the time, rates just this last week have actually kind of started coming out in our favor.
Yeah.
We were getting scared when the 10-year yield was going a little over 5. That 4.5%.
Yeah.
And luckily it didn't. If not, we would start seeing the rates again back in the 8s.
100%.
So luckily it kind of dropped, but it's like what people don't understand, in the 9 weeks that we've been in this year, 5 of those weeks were in a decline of applications.
Yes, right.
And so
Good
therefore
point.
it's like we got to really kind of gauge where we're at. And of course, I'm not saying realtors should know this data, but it's hard for them to understand that too.
Well, that's what you have us for. Like that.
Exactly.
That's what
But
all your realtors. You have us for that.
Exactly. And that's why I was just kind of like, don't worry about that. A lot happened. Rates were very volatile. Just give it another week or so. You'll start seeing more activity.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is good news, guys. And to carry over from our first article, but I think this is good. There's likely still to be some price cuts. I don't think it's going to be outside the bounds of normal, as people might be expecting, despite the amount of volume coming.
Yeah.
If the 10-year yield does hang between the 4 and the 4.3, I think we're going to be really good on rates to see them no higher than maybe 7 and 7 1/4.
Yeah.
That's really high, I know, relatively speaking, but there is room to the downside.
So I had I posted an update on rates the other day on my social media, and I had one of my followers reply back to me with the laughing emoji, and I was like, "What are you laughing about?" And he's like, "The fact that you posted that it went from 7.02 to 6.97, and it's been the lowest trending of rates in the last 3 weeks." He's like, "Bro, rates are still super high." So he really trolled me on there, but I was like, "You know what, bro? At the end of the day, we know rates are going to come down."
Yeah.
And I use that same example of saying, "Hey, rates right now are just a short-term problem.
Yeah.
We're going to get through that. We already know the Fed's already been procasting it, and the biggest thing is it's housing. So if we don't have any more inventory, prices will stay the same. Rates could drop, but I mean we're still going to be in the same boat.
No, that's
yeah.
right.
No
But
inventory.
at the same time, so we just locked the loan today.
Yeah.
And it was FHA, and it was locked in at 5.75.
Yeah,
Know
there
what
you
I
go.
mean? So last week and a half, I couldn't do that. I was at 6.375. So the rates have decreased that much.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'm glad you said that. I mean, again, it's all context.
Yeah.
I was gonna say perception. It's not perception. It's context. It's the loan profile. It's what kind of loan it is. It's the person's It's their credit score. It's the loan to value. It's the program type. It's all sorts of things. But 5.75, that's a good deal.
I mean, Andy, that was over $300 some, close to $400 monthly in savings.
that's true.
Yeah.
Come on, like,
Yeah.
who doesn't want that?
Yeah. No. That's
Right?
that's amazing.
And again,
So,
that's just all about timing the market, figuring out, understanding the market conditions, because that's going to persuade the 10-year yield. What people don't understand is that 10-year is going to make the world of the difference.
Oh, yeah.
As we move forward when purchasing homes.
I know it's not popular, it's not fun, and people
It's
don't
not.
understand it, but if just start looking into the 10-year yield, and it determines a lot of your financial life if you aren't aware of that.